Yo, Gotham just got shaken up once again. DC has been cooking and flambeing. They just dropped Batman #1 2025, and trust me and believe this isn't just another renumbering. We're talking new suit, new Batmobile, new creative team, ready to redefine the Dark Knight for a whole new era. Yo, what are we waiting on? Roll that intro, cuz. Yeah. What's going on, Geek Corner? This is your boy, Earth Smack the Mad Scientist, and welcome back to the Orange Phoenix Media channel. Today, we are going to talk about Batman #1, man. It took everything in me not to talk about it the day of release, the day after release, 2 days after release, because I really wanted to give people time to get into this comic, and I love it. I love every single bit of it. And I will give you my personal review at the end of this video, so you definitely want to stick around for that. And also, I'm going to give you a little bit of criticisms as well. So, let's jump into some Batman #1. So, first thing we got to address is the actual look of this, man. The look of Gotham is a little brighter, and I actually do appreciate that. As a Batman fan, I am a huge fan of Batman 1989. It's no secret that honestly Batman 89 is my favorite Batman in my position. I feel like it's the best Batman, mainly because I love Prince. But this is a brighter take on Gotham. Gotham still has crime. Gotham still has a lot of things going on. But the new look, the new aesthetic, I really dig it. And the artwork of Jorge Jimenez sings here. It's absolutely sings. So it starts off in the cover tree. Now we are introduced to not Commissioner Gordon, but Officer Gordon. And it says that no rain. It's like, beg pardon, Commissioner? He's like, heat, humidity, thunder, still no rain. And it's Officer Gordon. These days, Officer Espinosa. Jim is also fine. Yeah, she was like, you know what? Old habits, old habits. And he like, can't be a beat cop without coffee, Ezzy. It's the best part of the job. And that's and how there's never a dull moment. And the moment they were sitting there talking, like shooting the breeze while they on the beat, a monstrous figure shows up out of nowhere, crashes into a meat truck, and proceeds to start eating the meat that's in the meat truck. Now, this monstrous figure is Killer Croc. Like, right off the bat, we are introduced to the supervillain known as Killer Croc. And Ezra was like, yo, let's go find out what this is. And Gordon like, hey, hold up. Like, we don't just jump into this. Easy. We're going to call this one in. And she was like, call this one in? We're like, what you mean? You're like, that's right. Work as a cop in this town long enough, and you will learn that you need to ask for backup. And that is when you introduce to Batman in the blue and gray outfit, man. Like, looks really good. New bat symbol and everything. This thing pops out. Shout out to Jorge Jimenez, man. Shout out to him. And so far, you get to meet this doctor, the person that actually volunteered to look after Killer Croc. And Killer Croc is the one who's pretty much self-reported for treatment. So the good doctor says, we are shocked as you, Batman. Waylon Jones self-reported for treatment and could have left anytime he wished. This containment unit was built to withstand a bomb blast. And Batman says, you're new here, doctor. Killer Croc hasn't been Waylon Jones for a long time. I try to keep them separate. In my mind, it's easier that way when they inevitably disappoint you. Now, Waylon may be a supervillain to you, Batman, but he's a patient to me. Waylon Jones is changing, Batman. He began Icidices, shedding his skin, but it continued deeper, as though he were shedding everything inside and out. And Batman goes on to say, people never change. Not really. So with this panel alone, you see Batman as a cynic. Like, he's not believing the hype whatsoever, which may be a little different from the Batman that we do know. But this new take on Batman, it shows a little bit of growth. Like, you know, right now he's a cynic, but by the end of this comic, you definitely gonna understand where that personality changes, where he gets wise counsel. So when you get this spread where they actually describe the equipment that Batman uses, which is another awesome thing about this. And it says Batwing, low altitude, low opening flight suit, technographers, weave, glide ratio 5 to 1. And so like you see all this stuff and you see this vibrant city, like not necessarily metropolis like, but definitely brighter than the Gotham that we do know. You know what I'm saying? So maybe there's a symbolism of hope there, but we'll definitely jump into that even further. But now going into it, we are introduced to the new commissioner of Gotham. That is not Jim Gordon. It is Vandal Savage. Yeah, that Vandal Savage. The Vandal Savage that is like immortal through his life as a caveman.
Huh?
Yeah, that Vandal Savage. Now, in this particular standalone story, is this the same Vandal Savage that we know from original DC continuity? We do not know. But he goes on to say, listen up, you men and women that call yourselves Gotham's finest. I'm bringing in a force multiplier to your street presence from the world of private security. Tactical urban combat officers. They execute high-intensity security operations like recapturing tonight's escapee. Now, they are deputized and sanctioned to aid and abet you in bringing back law and order to our streets. That kind of sounds familiar, you know. There might be a little jab to what's going on in the real world. He said, but at all costs and by any means necessary, any means, you are all to radio in for Tuco backup in the event of any augmented criminal activities. You are not to engage and observe and report only. That they will be deployed to resolve matters immediately. One of the officers say, hey, Commissioner Savage, what do we do if we see, you know, him? Savage responds, his time will come. The Batman can't outrun Gotham justice. Clearly, you don't know Batman. Clearly. But what you got to understand is that in the beginning, there is a lot of, I wouldn't say a whole lot, but there's a few mini stories within. But we go elsewhere to Robinson Park, where these two young ladies are being chased by the creepers. Like, they are ready to like do some nefarious things in the park to these two young ladies, up until the point that Batman shows up and beats the living piss out of every single one of them. And he says the creeps have decided Robinson Park is their hunting ground. Now, the police don't think it merits concern, but I disagree. Now, sorry I couldn't get to you sooner. You both need trauma and medical care. And ma'am, hold still for a moment. And Batman notices that there's the butterfly. Like, this butterfly is not relative to Gotham. And obviously, him being a detective, because you see him do detective work early in the issue, that he's able to track down what exactly is going on. And the little lady's like, wait, you're not going to leave us, are you? Like, nah, never. Like, first of all, EMT going to be here in about 3 minutes. And car, you protect them from anybody else that might pull up if I'm not around. But it goes on to ask what exactly what he's doing with his equipment. And what it is Volcom, which is vocal ID, and basically for automobile operation. Now, he goes to this observatory and he sees that Killer Croc is in that observatory. Now, one thing I did miss here is about Alfred. Now, Alfred is an AI. Like, Alfred is led to believe he's not amongst the living. So Alfred actually helps out Batman. He's like, oh dear, what a mess. And Batman goes on to say, trail of blood splatter leads from here to the exhibit hall. It is definitely Croc. And Alfred hit him with that wit. He's like, you really are quite a detective, sir. But that one line where he says, how I miss that Pennyworth wit. Here is where you see Batman meeting Killer Croc. Now, Batman's like, all right, Croc, let's get this over with. But instead of a slugfest, though, they actually have a conversation. But before that, Alfred says, Master Bruce, what if Dr. Zeller is correct? Some creatures do, in fact, change. He's like, what if some eternal cycle has begun within him again, and even only for this moment, he's become something like a child alone. At that point, Batman powers down. He's like, all right, well, clearly we ain't gonna fight. He said, in a violent, terrible world, he cannot understand. Drowning in fear, if it's as you say, no one ever really changes, Master Bruce, then surely you know how that feels. So this is where Alfred gives him wise counsel here, and he makes him think. He like, you know, Waylon, I used to have one of these in my house. And Croc's like, big house? He's like, yeah, it was. Like, your head new now? He's like, if you say so. He's like, me new head, but bad now. Lost. Like, I ate the zoo. He's like, I know you did, buddy. I know. And from that standpoint, Dr. Zeller shows up and helps out Waylon. She's like, do you want my help. Would you like to come home? Croc says, head bad, made home bad, am bad. You made a choice, Waylon. You can make a good choice. Come home. Let me help you. And he responds, okay. Now, from that standpoint, Batman did have a dinosaur. Like Croc had a little dinosaur, and he actually gives this to Batman. He's like, home now, she help. Who help you? And Batman says, my head is okay, Waylon. I don't need help. And he responds, if you say so. Now, with that line, it's a lot of weight to that line. Now, I'm going to jump into that momentarily. But Batman speeds home, and obviously, you know, Batman has a trophy case of everything that he's done in the past or any kind of souvenir, and that dinosaur is just one of them. He says, some trophy. And then he gets a radio call from Robin, and he was like, is there anybody on the police force we're friendly with these days? And he was like, I don't like the sound of that. He's like, why? Now, at this point, Robin is at gunpoint by the GCPD. But that is the end of Batman #1. And we're going to have to wait till October to get Batman #1. Now, I ain't going to hold you. I'm not a huge fan of monthly, once-a-month comics, okay? I'm not a huge fan of it, especially if the comic itself is fire. And Batman #1 is fire. Now, let's go back to the weight of words that Waylon said, like, if you say so. Okay, Batman has an AI of Alfred. Alfred is not amongst the living, or that will be led to believe, all right? And this is a very smart AI. And in some cases, this is where the criticism kind of comes in at from other people. I'm really not hung up on that, but a lot of people can use this AI as a weapon against Batman in the future. I will say that. Also, there's a little bit of a morality thing, like you're not coping well with the loss of Alfred, even though you lost your parents. Alfred is being one of the individuals that you were very, very close to. And if he's not amongst the living, and this is how you're coping, it might be problematic. And I think that's where it is. And I think that's also, without Waylon even realizing it, that's what he meant. Like, if you say so. Now, overall, I will say it's so refreshing to get a standalone Batman comic that gets back to the brass tacks. You know what I'm saying? I hope this comic has a long run. And the fact that the colors are vibrant, the colors are bright, leaves a little bit of hope with Gotham. It's not as dark and bleak as we know Gotham to be, with the dark outfits and stuff like that. So it goes back to a certain age of comics where Batman had that blue and gray suit. And in this issue, we have several like mini stories. Like we learned about Jim Gordon being a beat cop again. So obviously he got ousted as a commissioner. He lost an election of some sort. And now Vandal Savage is not a commissioner of Gotham. And Vandal Savage got an issue with Batman. One thing I did notice though, I haven't noticed a bat signal. So clearly with this new regime of the GCPD, I mean, clearly that's not good. It's not good. And obviously, Officer Gordon now has a relationship with Batman, even though it doesn't show it in this issue. But also, you see the character growth in Batman being a cynic in the beginning of the issue, but also be compassionate by the end of the issue. So I do see that. And which Robin is this? Is this Tim Drake Robin? Is this Jason Todd Robin? Is it Dick Grayson Robin? Or is it Damian Wayne? We do not know. We just know the code word Robin. We don't know which Robin this is, but this outfit looks crazy. This outfit looks crazy. And maybe I'm being a little greedy. Maybe we can get our own separate Robin run with this particular Robin and this particular artwork. I don't know. Maybe I'm being greedy. I am being greedy. I have no shame about it. But check it. Hit that like and subscribe button and that notification bell. And when you hit that notification bell, make sure you hit all notifications. That way, any of our content, live or recorded, you will be notified on all that stuff. All right. And leave us comments. Tell us what you think about Batman #1 2025. Is it so refreshing, the fact that it's standalone from any other comics or whatever the case may be? Because this right here might be my favorite Batman run, just based off this issue 1. Keep doing what you're doing, Matt Fraction. Keep doing what you're doing, Jorge Jimenez. So until next time, y'all, peace.